What's happening, guys? I don't care what anybody says. If Guardiola doesn't win the Champions League next season, he is a fraud. And I love Guardiola. He is my favourite manager of all time. Revolutionised the game, transformed the idea of what a central midfielder is supposed to look like, and created the greatest club side of all time with the most beautiful style of football we have ever seen. But his history of failures with other clubs trying to recreate what he did at Barcelona, along with his own admission to the press, suggests he might be a bit overrated, and here's my opinion why. The infamous 2021 Champions League final. I'm sure we all still remember the final against Chelsea last year in 2021. For those who don't, let me jog your memory. So Man City and Chelsea both get to the final. Everything seems fine and dandy. Man City are even considered the favourites due to the fact that they won the league at this point and are arguably the best team in the world. Most neutrals want Man City to win also due to the fact it was Sergio Aguero's last game at the club, a certified Premier League legend at this point, gifting us with some truly special moments. Most fans wanted to see him lift the trophy. At the time, it seemed like it was Pep's special moment. 10 years since he won his last CL, he was finally going to shut up all his critics once and for all. Then the team lineup was revealed. I don't know what type of narcotics this guy was smoking the night before, but what type of Albert Einstein dream went through his head. I don't know if this is one of them enlightening ideas that happened to strike him in the shower before he left to prepare his team that day, but we can all agree that he essentially gave that final away to Chelsea, and it makes no sense. You played a certain way throughout the entire season that was successful, a way that granted you a league title, and to change that system and not play a holding midfielder in the most important match of the club's history, with man like Kante on the pitch buzzing around the middle of the field, it's simply asinine to me. Makes zero sense at all. So much so that the decision in my mind seems a lot like an ego move. It's the type of decision that if went to plan and Man City happened to smoke Chelsea 3-0 on the day, Guardiola would have been lauded as a genius, greatest manager on earth, and I really think this might have been going through his head. Of course, I can't say for certain that this was an influence in Guardiola's decision making, but we can say for sure that the decision he made to alter the midfield on the day was incorrect. It wasn't the first time he made a major unusual tactical adjustment that has backfired on him and further played into the perception of him being an overthinker in big games. Unlimited money at Man City. In the 6 years Guardiola has been appointed at Man City, he has spent over 1 billion in transfers. $1 billion! This is a world record, by the way. No other manager in the history of football has spent more than him, and it's not going to stop anytime soon until they get that CL trophy. The owner of the club, Sheikh Mansour, is worth over 17 billion alone, whilst his whole family have amassed over $1 trillion in wealth. Buying a Champions League title is essentially urinating into the ocean for them, I guess. And that's exactly what it would be, a bought Champions League title. Something I would hate to see as a football fan, as it could lead to the demise of excitement in football, but that's a whole nother topic for another video. Literally last year, he squandered 100 million for a dime a dozen, typically overrated, glorified Englishmen, and since things just happen to not work out, he can just splash another 50 million on one of the greatest young talents in the world. It's actually not even fair. Bro really can just recruit whoever he wants without any financial planning or consequences, which brings me to my next point. Erling Haaland transfer. I want you guys to really think about this. Manchester City, in terms of squad, is the best team in the world, got to the final and the semi-final of the CL back-to-back, have successfully bought the league again with another domestic victory, and despite this, the singular, solitary hole in the squad you can find since Aguero has left has always been they don't have a top, certified, full-fledged striker. Regardless of this idea, they have just won their third Premier League title in a row, an incredible feat, joint with United as the most consecutive title wins in history. And still, with this chokehold on the league, they went out and fixed what seemed to be their only visible weakness. Not only fixed, they literally obtained a monster that is idealistically a perfect suit to the Premier League. Tall, physically strong, rapid, he provides a threat in the air as a forward, which is an element the team has been missing. Not like they needed it or anything. And he is a ruthless goal scorer. At the tender age of 21, he is the youngest player in history to reach 20 goals in the Champions League with just 14 games, and he is young enough to be mentally molded into the player Guardiola wants him to be. I'm sorry, but with this addition to the squad, there is literally no more excuses for failure. You have the strongest squad in the world with literally no weaknesses and a straight animal up front that you didn't even need to win the biggest league in the world. His style of play that we have seen at Dortmund and the fact that he can score any type of goal opens up a whole new set of options Man City can use in attack. He is the most beneficial player on planet Earth that they could have possibly signed to take them to an even higher level than before. And with this acquisition, if Guardiola is as good as a manager as we all think he is, there is no way he should fail. It's evident at this point with 3 Premier League titles in a row, his sights will be set primarily on the Champions League as has eluded him for so long. The board will be pressuring him for this achievement as well. Money versus influence. Again, I apologise if some people feel offended, but at this point comparing Guardiola to prime Mourinho, the man who won the CL with Porto and Inter Milan, knocking out Guardiola's Barcelona when they were literally at the peak of their powers, with a squad that was nowhere near the favourites or the best team in the competition is actually an insult, not only to Mourinho's legacy, but also the idea of winning through pure means. It undermines the power of getting a group of players together to devoutly believe in your vision, how you want them to perform, and having an influence powerful enough to which they perform better than they have previous to your arrival, to the extent they are willing to give absolutely everything they have on that pitch to ensure victory. I understand Guardiola does the same thing influencing players with his system, but it is not the same as making a squad with worse players better as a team via sheer spiritual influence. Put it this way, it is evident that Guardiola's philosophy is flawed due to the fact he needs the absolute best players to succeed. We have never seen a top manager in a top league come into a squad of players that wasn't the best in their league with clear weaknesses and transform them into a team of champions with the style of total football. Maybe because it's simply not possible. You can argue that Guardiola actually did this when he arrived at Barcelona's first team, but the truth is, it was a completely unique situation Pep openly admits he was very lucky to be a part of at the perfect time, in the sense that his whole philosophy was moulded by Barcelona itself, and at their peak in 2011, 8 players out of the starting 11 was bred from the club's academy, La Masia, along with Guardiola, so it's almost like he came up with them. Despite this anomaly type of example where the stars just seem to align, it's never been done before in the conventional sense, and I believe it's due to a weakness in his philosophy where you need exceptionally gifted players for the system to work. However, Klopp, albeit his style is not total football, has spent a lot less than Guardiola with a longer tenureship at Liverpool and has managed to win the Champions League with his own philosophy that is still very offensive minded in his own right, with a club that is not the richest in the world compared to City and PSG, and actually have a cap on how much they can spend, forcing him to be a lot more efficient and thoughtful with his decision making in regards to transfers. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool still spend tons of money, but it's far more calculated. Let's just say they have enough common sense to not blow 100 million on Jack Grealish. But hey, I guess when your owners practically have unlimited money, wasting it has zero consequences. I went on a bit of a tangent there, but what I'm trying to say is despite Guardiola's reputation of being arguably the greatest manager ever, in my opinion, he falls short 100% to Mourinho and arguably to Klopp due to the fact he has had to spend $1 billion building his team without European glory, whilst these managers have achieved this feat in a position where they were underdogs. With this absurd amount of money spent, you could argue even if he does win it eventually, primarily it was the owner's oil money that won it more so than Guardiola's role as manager himself. Of course, he still has to manage his players, and of course the success and failure of his team are entirely dependent on the squad's belief in him and how he instructs his team to play. However, the amount of money he has spent, and is still able to spend, degrades the idea that his genius, managerial skill and philosophy are the prevalent factors for his success at Man City. The money Richter scale and the influence Richter scale are a lot more even to each other compared to managers like Klopp and Mourinho, whose influence scale is a lot larger than the money scale, with Mourinho spending almost 150 million in his triumphant treble season at Inter Milan and Klopp spending roughly 500 million during his entire tenureship thus far at Liverpool. Final takes. Please don't get me wrong, Guardiola is absolutely and undeniably a truly legendary manager and a major influence to how modern football is played today. Like I said before, he is my favourite manager of all time and granted me personally with the most beautiful football that I've ever seen still to this day 10 years later. It was a genuine privilege to witness the greatness of that era, but I firmly believe he does fall short to other managers due to the fact he has not proven himself on the European stage in another team and has to spend over $1 billion in his journey to achieve that success. If he doesn't reach his goal of European conquest, In my opinion, a question mark will always loom over his head, with the question being if he really did just get lucky with Barcelona. His words, not mine, by the way. And if he doesn't win it next season, unless somehow Haaland flops and just happens to not adjust to the Premier League, which I do not see happening, I'm not quite sure how he will win it. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. It would mean a lot if you could give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Stay safe, tell someone close to you that you love them, and peace.